Listen carefully. This is not encouragement. This is not motivation. And this is not a message you casually hear and move on from. Today is a line in the spirit. What you do, and more importantly, what you say, determines what follows you into the next season. There is a reason your awareness has been heightened, a reason your dreams have intensified, a reason clarity has been pressing in all at once. You are standing inside a divine testing window, and most people will fail it without ever realizing they were tested, because the test is simple, and that's what makes it dangerous. What you're about to hear is not for everyone, but if you found this message today, understand this clearly. Silence will protect what is coming. Speech will decide whether it arrives at all. Now, listen, because the next few minutes explain why this day carries weight and what is at stake if you don't recognize it. Listen to this slowly, not casually, not distracted, because what you are hearing right now is not inspiration. It is a warning wrapped in mercy. Today is not neutral. It is not just another date you pass through on the way to a new year. This day has weight. It has consequences, and whether you realize it or not, a line has been drawn in the unseen realm. This is a test day, not a test of belief, but a test of restraint, not a test of faith, but a test of maturity, not a test of prayer, but a test of silence. Most people fail this test without ever knowing they were examined, and that is why they walk into the next season confused, delayed, and wondering what went wrong. Listen carefully. What is being measured today is not what you do, it is what you say. Because over the last several days, something has shifted around you. You felt it. Your awareness sharpened. Your dreams became louder. Your discernment cut deeper. Pieces started clicking together that never made sense before. You didn't suddenly become smarter. You didn't suddenly become more spiritual. You entered a window, a sacred overlap between what is ending and what is about to begin. Between who you have been and who you are being prepared to become. Between the waiting season and the release season. And in this window, revelation flows faster. Clarity comes without effort. Truth rises to the surface. But here is what almost no one tells you. Revelation does not automatically mean readiness. In fact, revelation is often the final test before release, because the moment you receive clarity, the urge to speak awakens, the urge to explain, the urge to announce, the urge to be understood, the urge to be validated. And that urge, right there, is what is being tested today. Can you hold something sacred without displaying it? Can you protect what was given in confidence? Can you resist the impulse to prove that what you experienced was real? Because there is a difference between receiving something from God and being trusted to steward it. Today is the day that difference is exposed. Many people believe silence means fear. They believe silence means doubt. They believe silence means withholding. But in the spiritual realm, silence is not weakness. Silence is containment. Silence is protection. Silence is trust so deep that you don't need witnesses. And here is the truth most never realize until it's too late. What is revealed too early is often lost forever. This is why some people receive powerful insight only to watch it fade. Why some feel momentum building, then suddenly feel it stall. Why some sense a breakthrough approaching but never cross into it. It was not resistance. It was not sabotage. It was exposure. They spoke what should have remained sealed. They announced what was still forming. They invited voices into a process that required solitude. And once a thing is exposed before it is ready, it cannot be forced to mature. Today is not asking for effort. It is asking for discipline. For one day, you are being asked to choose silence over impulse, depth over display, destiny over validation. Because what waits on the other side of this day is not small. It is not symbolic. It is not imaginary. There are shifts already scheduled, doors already positioned, connections already aligned, outcomes already prepared. But timing is conditional, and trust determines release. If what was shown to you is protected, it strengthens. If it is spoken prematurely, it weakens. This is why this day matters. This is why the pressure to talk feels stronger than usual. This is why the urge to explain feels almost irresistible. Pressure reveals what controls you, and today reveals whether impulse or obedience has the final word. This is not about perfection. It is about awareness. Because once you recognize that this day is testing restraint, you can no longer claim ignorance. You must choose silence or leakage, protection or exposure, formation or delay. This is only the beginning. Because once you understand what is at stake, you will realize why this day stands between preparation and manifestation, and why what you do with your words today determines how you step into what comes next. Something has been different lately, and you know it. Not in a vague, emotional way, but in a precise, unmistakable way. Your perception sharpened, your inner hearing intensified, your awareness expanded without effort. Moments that used to feel ordinary now feel charged. Dreams linger longer after you wake. Thoughts arrive fully formed, as if they were placed instead of created. Truth feels closer to the surface than it has in a long time. This did not happen by accident, and it did not happen because you suddenly changed. You entered a window. There are rare moments where time overlaps itself, where endings and beginnings touch, where what is closing hands something directly to what is opening. You are inside one of those moments now. This is why clarity has been arriving without strain, why discernment feels sharper than logic, why answers come before the questions fully form. The veil is thinner here, and when the veil thins, information flows faster. But so do tests, because increased access always comes with increased responsibility. What many people misunderstand is this: revelation is not proof of favor. It is proof of proximity, and proximity demands discipline. When you are brought closer, you see more. But seeing more does not mean sharing more. In fact, the closer you are brought, the quieter you are expected to become. This is why you have been shown things recently that you cannot yet explain. Why you sense outcomes before processes. Why you feel certainty without external confirmation. This is not imagination. This is alignment. But alignment is fragile in its early stages. It can be disturbed. It can be diluted. It can be redirected. And the most common way alignment collapses is through premature exposure. You were not given insight, so you could announce it. You were given insight so you could prepare for it. There is a difference. Preparation happens in private. Announcement happens in public. And confusing those two stages costs people entire seasons. This is why the urge to talk feels so strong right now. Because the moment clarity arrives, the mind wants witnesses. It wants reassurance. It wants agreement. But agreement from the wrong sources destabilizes truth. Not everyone who listens has the capacity to hold what you are shown. Not everyone who cares has the discernment to protect it. And when insight meets limitation, limitation does not rise. Insight lowers itself to survive. That is why so many people lose what they receive. Not because it was false, not because it was exaggerated, but because it was shared in the wrong environment. Revelation requires insulation, and this window you are in is not designed for broadcasting. It is designed for rooting. Roots do not grow in light. They grow in concealment. They strengthen where no one can see them, and only after they are secure, Is the structure above ground allowed to rise? What you are sensing right now is the foundation phase. And foundations demand stillness. This is why distractions have felt louder, why conversations feel intrusive, why noise feels exhausting. Your system knows something important is forming, and it is trying to protect it. But protection requires cooperation. If you insist on explaining what you have not yet lived, you interrupt the process. If you seek validation before embodiment, you fracture the alignment. This window is generous, but it is not forgiving. It offers clarity freely, but it withdraws it quickly when mishandled. That is why today matters. Not because of superstition, not because of symbolism, but because timing is precise, and precision requires restraint. You are being trained to recognize that not every truth needs a voice, that not every insight needs an audience, that not every revelation needs witnesses. Some things are entrusted only to see if you can carry them without displaying them. And this window will not remain open long. What is done correctly here creates momentum that feels effortless later. What is mishandled here creates resistance that feels unexplainable. This is the revelation window. And now that you understand why clarity has increased, you must understand what threatens it. Because the next thing you need to learn is how easily revelation can be destroyed when it is not protected, and why silence is not avoidance, it is preservation. Here is what almost no one understands until it costs them something. What you were shown was not information. It was not an idea. It was not a prediction. It was a seed. And seeds follow laws, not opinions, not emotions, laws. Every seed, without exception, requires concealment before expansion. It must be placed where it cannot be seen. It must remain untouched. It must develop strength where no applause exists. Exposure too early does not speed growth. It kills it. This is where most people fail. They mistake excitement for readiness. They confuse clarity with completion. The moment a seed is planted, it enters its most vulnerable phase. Roots begin forming silently. Structures take shape invisibly. Foundations are laid where no one can interfere. An interruption during this stage is fatal. This is why what you speak matters more than what you believe. Belief receives the seed. Speech determines whether it survives. When you talk about what is still forming, you disturb the environment required for growth. You invite variables that were never meant to participate. You introduce pressure before strength exists, and pressure without structure collapses destiny. This is why people lose visions. Not suddenly, gradually. First comes dilution. Certainty softens. Details blur. Confidence weakens. Then comes confusion. Second guessing replaces conviction. External opinions replace internal knowing. And finally, the seed dies quietly. Not with drama, not with announcement, just absence. They wonder why the fire faded, why the clarity disappeared, why what felt so real now feels distant. Nothing attacked it. It was exposed. Every time you explain what you were shown to someone who cannot see it, you adjust it downward so it can be understood. And in adjusting it, you shrink it. Not everyone's disbelief is hostile. Some doubt is well-meaning. Some skepticism sounds caring. But limitation, regardless of intention, contaminates formation. This is why silence is not about secrecy. It is about insulation. A seed must be protected from temperature shifts, from harsh conditions, from unstable environments. Your insight is no different. When you share prematurely, you expose it to other people's fears, other people's history, other people's failures, other people's disbelief. And those elements attach themselves invisibly. They alter the environment. They weaken the root system. This is how people sabotage themselves without resistance, without enemies, Without opposition, they talk. This is why some things must stay unspoken, not because they are fragile forever, but because they are fragile now. A seed that survives this stage becomes unstoppable later, but a seed that is unearthed early never recovers. This is also why excitement feels dangerous in this phase, because excitement wants witnesses. But witnesses belong to harvest, not planting. You do not celebrate a seed underground. You protect it. This is why discipline matters more than passion here. Why restraint outweighs enthusiasm. Why silence outweighs declaration. Because declaration before rooting turns prophecy into performance, and performance drains power. The unseen realm responds to order, and order demands timing. Speak too early, and you force something immature into an environment that requires maturity. This is not spiritual theory. This is spiritual law. What is formed in secrecy emerges with authority. What is rushed into visibility emerges unstable, and instability never sustains destiny. This is the part of the process where patience proves trust, where silence proves understanding, where obedience proves readiness. And this is why this stage feels uncomfortable, because everything in you wants to move outward. But growth requires inward depth first. You are not being delayed. You are being rooted. And rooting feels like stillness. It feels like nothing is happening. It feels like silence. But silence is not empty. It is active protection. And if you honor it, what is growing beneath the surface will emerge with force you do not need to defend. But if you break it, what was meant to rise will collapse before it ever stands. This is why what you do next matters. Because now that you understand the seed, you must understand exactly what must remain sealed until the right moment arrives. Now we move from understanding to instruction. Because once a principle is revealed, responsibility follows. This is where most people get uncomfortable, not because they disagree, but because they recognize themselves. There are specific areas of your life that must remain sealed during this phase, not hidden forever, not denied, protected. And the danger is not ignorance anymore. The danger is disobedience. First, what you have been shown in dreams. Your dream life has not been random. It has been deliberate, symbolic, accurate. You have seen outcomes before processes, scenes before timelines, truth without context. These were not meant for discussion. They were meant for recognition. The moment you speak them aloud to the wrong ears, the meaning distorts. The power leaks. Not everyone has the capacity to hear without contaminating. Write them down if you must. Acknowledge them privately, but do not release them into conversation. Second, the clarity you now have about your direction. Something locked into place recently. Confusion lifted. Purpose sharpened. You finally understand what you are meant to move toward and what you are meant to leave behind. This clarity is dangerous when shared too early. People who are uncertain about their own direction will unconsciously project doubt onto yours. They do not mean harm, but confusion spreads faster than certainty. Guard your direction. It will speak for itself when the time comes. Third, the decisions you are preparing to make about people. Your discernment has increased. Masks are easier to see through, patterns are impossible to ignore. Some connections are ending. Some boundaries are forming. Some alignments are shifting. If you discuss these decisions prematurely, you invite interference. Opinions dilute instruction. Sympathy weakens resolve. Obedience does not require explanation. Move when instructed. Remain silent until execution is complete. Fourth, the shift you sense around provision. You already know something is changing. Signs have been appearing. Confidence has been rising. This is not the time to announce abundance. It is the time to contain it. Financial shifts attract attention, and attention attracts resistance. Silence protects momentum. Let results speak, not anticipation. And fifth, healing. Whether it has already begun or is still unfolding, healing in its early stages is fragile, like new skin, strong enough to exist, not yet strong enough to endure scrutiny. When you expose healing to doubt, you stress what is still stabilizing. Honor the process. Let restoration complete itself before you testify. These 5 areas are under protection, not because they are weak, but because they are forming. And now comes the part few want to hear. Silence here is not optional. It is the requirement. This is where spiritual maturity is proven, not in revelation, not in emotion, but in restraint. Because if you cannot guard what is invisible, you will not be trusted with what becomes visible. This is not punishment. It is protocol. And the pressure you feel to speak is the final confirmation that something valuable is being built. Pressure always targets importance. The more significant the formation, the stronger the urge to expose it. Now you must decide. Will you protect what is forming, or satisfy the impulse to explain? Because the next phase depends entirely on this choice. And once you understand the deeper law behind secrecy and reward, you will realize why silence has always preceded manifestation. Now everything narrows to a single point, because every principle leads to a decision, and every decision reveals readiness. There is a law that governs all formation, one that most people overlook because it is quiet. Nothing powerful is born in noise. Creation happens in the secret place, in concealment, in stillness. This is why growth always begins where no one is watching, why formation happens before exposure, why strength is developed before responsibility is assigned. The secret place is not a location. It is a condition. It is where trust is proven, where discipline outweighs impulse, where obedience replaces performance. And this is why silence precedes release. What you keep protected tells God what you are ready to steward. If something must be announced to feel real, it is not yet stable. But what is held with quiet confidence has already taken root. This is the final examination. Not dramatic, not complicated, simple. Can you remain silent when everything in you wants to speak? Because the public place is not neutral. It is a battlefield. Opinions weaken clarity. Doubt dilutes certainty. Disbelief delays momentum. And immature things cannot survive exposure. If you honor this day, if you protect what was entrusted to you, what is forming will accelerate. Clarity will deepen. Momentum will increase. Alignment will strengthen. You will feel a settling, a knowing, a calm certainty that something irreversible has shifted. But if you break this protection, if you expose what was meant to remain sealed, you will not lose it dramatically. You will lose it subtly. Momentum will stall. Confidence will fade. Clarity will blur. Not because you were rejected, but because you were not yet ready. This is the part people misunderstand. Delay is not denial. It is instruction. And instruction ignored becomes repetition. If you cannot protect a vision in silence, you will struggle to protect it in visibility. This is why maturity is tested before manifestation. Now comes the moment that decides everything. For the next stretch of time, you will feel opportunities to speak. Questions will arise. Openings will present themselves. And each one is an invitation not to talk, but to prove trust. Silence here is not emptiness. It is alignment. It is saying without words, I value what is coming more than being understood now. This is how destiny is safeguarded. And when this window closes, what was protected will emerge naturally, without effort, without explanation, without defense. Results will speak louder than declarations ever could. This is the reward of restraint. You are not being asked to hide forever, only to protect until formation is complete. The moment will come when silence is no longer required, when what was hidden will stand openly. But that moment is earned. Right now, the choice is simple. Honor the process or interrupt it. Protect what is forming or expose it. Choose discipline or impulse. Because what happens next is not accidental, it is decided, and the decision is yours.